For some reason, I remember the world as it was, not as it is, and I'm really hoping someone else out there does too. As far as I know, the world was still normal around October last year, because I remember reading a news article about China relaxing its policy on one child per family, and within the article, the world population was quoted as being just over 5 billion. If I check out that number now, it's 7.4 billion. That is over 2 billion unexplained people. They're changing our history and our memories, and no one seems to realize what's happening. I looked for that news article again, and this time it said the population was just over 7 billion. But I remember what I read the first time around. I've taken to calling them extras, because when I first noticed them, that's what they were like. Just extras in a movie having very little influence on my life. There are more of them now. Just think about those numbers. If you're in a room with 6 other people, the chances are one or more of them is an extra. My name is Tyler. I'm 34 years old. I live alone, apart from my 2 cats, Hackle and Jackal. I have no history of mental illness, and I run a hardware store with my friend Lindsay. I live in a tidy little flat above the shop. It's a small business, just the 2 of us, but it does okay. I'm just telling you this because I want you to take me seriously. I need you to believe me. I'm not crazy or delusional. I'm very normal to the point of boring, and quite frankly, my old English teacher would have told you my imagination left a lot to be desired. I guess the first time an extra really caught my attention was just after Christmas. I went to a friend of mine, to a small house party. There were 10 of us there, all close friends, apart from one guy I'd never met before. He was there with my friend Ayme, and his name was Mark. It was odd. For a start, I didn't even know Ayme was seeing anyone, and I'd only seen her a few days earlier. The really odd thing, though, was that everyone seemed to know him really well. It wasn't like he was a new person in the group, it was like he had been friends with us for all these years. A couple of times when he spoke to me, he mentioned little details about me that startled me. How on earth did he know? At one point I asked him where he was from. Ayme literally laughed at me and said he was still living on Oak Street, the street where I grew up. I don't care what anyone said, I didn't grow up with that man. I didn't know him, and I'd never seen him before that night. After that I tried to avoid speaking to him, but I could see him watching me. Extras have an effect on everyone, I think without even realizing why. Instinctively, we recognize them and don't like them. Later, during the evening, another of my friends quietly mentioned that he didn't know why Ayme was with Mark and that he couldn't stand him. It's like a personality clash, only worse. We tend to really dislike extras. Think about the people you know, whether it's friends, family, or work colleagues. If there's one person that is universally disliked, the chances are they're an extra. The last time I spoke to my mother, she told me my sister had a new job. Thing is, I never had a sister. A week ago, Mark came around to my flat. When he first arrived, he feigned normality. We were old buddies, and he'd just come around to see how I was. Well, that's what he said, but I wasn't having any of it. I flat out confronted him. To begin with, he expressed concern for me. Had I been working too hard? Was I alright? But as I said earlier, I have no imagination and I know what I know. He quickly realized I wasn't going to play along, and then got aggressive. He came at me with a kitchen knife. I genuinely think he would have killed me, but I pushed him away so hard he fell backwards and hit his head on the kitchen counter. What happened next was the strangest thing. He popped like a balloon and left scuttling across my kitchen floor. It was a massive centipede-type bug. I smashed my boot down on it, and it squealed, then stopped wriggling. So, yeah, I guess I kinda killed Mark. Except the moment I killed him, everyone forgot he existed. To begin with, I expected Ayme to call the police. I expected them to question me. I was the last person to see him alive, after all. I heard nothing. And after 2 days, I couldn't take it anymore. I rang Ayme. We talked regularly, so she didn't think there was anything unusual in me phoning. And we chatted away for a good 20 minutes without mentioning Mark at all. Eventually, I brought the subject up and asked how he was. "Mark who?" she said. So it would seem, if you kill an extra, it's like they never existed in the first place. I found someone online that knew about them. I hunted her down on some random forum. As it turned out, Sarah lived relatively close to me, and we agreed to meet up in a coffee shop and talk about things. It was such a relief to us to find someone else aware of the extras, although she had called them new people. I thought I'd have to close the shop for the day because Lindsay had rung in sick, but when I got downstairs, Tony was already in. I don't particularly like him, but he's a good worker, and I left the shop in his capable hands. I waited all morning for her, but she never showed up. And later that day on the local news, there was a story about a woman called Sarah who had been walking towards Main Street by the canal and had apparently fallen in and drowned. Oh, I didn't know what the Sarah I was meeting looked like, but I suspected this woman and my Sarah were one and the same. Okay, so this is what I've pieced together. Extras are people you instinctively don't like. Sarah thought they affected brainwaves, and that's why we feel irritated and stressed when we're around them. I don't know what I hope to achieve by putting this out there. I just want to make people aware. Don't trust them. And if you believe someone to be an extra, for God's sake, don't let them know. Because they won't think twice about getting rid of you. Anyway, I need to go now. My wife is calling me. There's nothing quite like a small conspiracy theorist speaking his mind, don't you think? Or is he? Perhaps you know someone who fits his descriptions. Either way, thank you very much for listening. And please, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. After all, I have many more stories in my collection.